We've looked at some of these statistics, and we've seen that there are differences in attitudes, of course, generationally, as well as between young men and women when it comes to attitudes towards marriage, towards family, and so on. And can I ask, in your opinion, what do you think has led to this change?
So I think for my parents' generation, I recall Ariel sharing at the start, there were political as well as economical uncertainties that they lived through. And I think marriage is a practical option to settle down, to buy a house together, to have some guarantees of having caregivers in old age. Yeah, and I think people, at least in my parents' age, my parents had stable single jobs and they wanted to start their family before their biological time clock ran out. So that's why they also chose to settle down. So the intention to have children together, as I reflect on my parents' marriage, is it shapes their expectations of marriage. And for example, my own father wanted to find a wife who was younger because he wanted to have children. So, and from my own observations, I noticed that friends in my generation also want to be married for functional purposes like buying a house and also companionship. But I noticed 4 trends in my generation that is different, or rather, is more commonly seen and accepted. So first one is no need to have a partner. I shared previously that some believe that staying single is having freedom, right? And then secondly is no need to have children in marriage. Actually, this is quite an interesting trend, but I noticed a lot of young couples having pets instead of children. So, but I have some friends who tell me that they are 99% sure they don't want to have children, and they will really panic if they find out they are pregnant. So, I guess why this is happening, based on my conversations with my friends, is possible that we ourselves know that children can be quite ungrateful or entitled. Sometimes I hear us say that we don't want kids like ourselves. So, I think. Maybe this is why, along with how we are not really materially deprived, we feel like we don't need to have children. Then thirdly, no need to rush to have children nowadays. No biological time clock restriction, because now there's a lot of reproductive technologies. In 2023, I think, Singapore legalized elective egg freezing for women between 21 to 38 years old. So there's no need to rush to give up your career. We can do what we want first and then come back to this later on and have everything in life, right? So lastly, I think what is more commonly accepted now would be that the option of divorce. So maybe back then there will be a lot more considerations as to whether we want to divorce, but nowadays it's like more feelings based. So if we're not happy, we're not fulfilled in this marriage, then we want to tap out more easily. So I think the option of divorce, like entering marriage with an option of divorce, changes the weight of marriage vows. Yeah, so I'll just end off with why I think this is happening in my generation with a bit of a generational backdrop. So earlier I mentioned that my parents grew up in more unstable times. And I think there is a shift in quality of life as my parents turn from teenagers to adults and more mature adults. So I think thanks to my parents' hard work, my generation generally grew up without much material worries. So I speak for myself and people that I know that I think our generation do live in a competitive age where our parents' expectations of us can be quite high. So from young, there's expectations to be excellent and stand out. And on top of this, we live in a quite visually stimulating and highly connected age. So in this background, I feel like young people tend to focus more on comfort and freedom and standing out, which is breaking free from expectations. So I think that's why we see these 4 things happening. No need to be married, no need to have children, no need to have children now, and no need to stay in marriage. It's kind of a breaking free from expectations also. Yeah.
Just a follow-on question, Ludi, and it's a question about the attitudes that we've seen between younger men and younger women. And so, any thoughts or personal observations when it comes to, let's say, among your friends, let's say, do you see a difference between the attitudes of young men and young women when it comes to marriage, when it comes to family?
Most of my friends are women, so I can't comment on young men. But I think I saw the results, and when I was thinking, when I was reflecting, I know the age group is 18 to 24 years old, and I must say, what I thought when I was 18 and what I thought when I'm 24 is very different. So I'm quite interested to actually see, that result when it moves up the years, whether the same group actually will have different views. Because I think as a woman, when we're younger, we don't really know what feels most fulfilling. But I think after some trial and error, it might become different. Yeah. So, but in terms of your question, which is why younger women and younger men may think differently, specifically why younger women are not very keen to be married, is it? Yeah, so I think the reality is that a lot of child giving that responsibility definitely falls on women, and the child rearing responsibility also is taken on by women. And I think some of my friends may feel like this is a kind of work that is not recognized. Unlike in the workplace, you get paid for what you do, you get promoted for what you do. Here at home, there is little recognition and reward. So they'll feel like this is sacrifice. And because of that, I think we're less inclined to want to put in effort in this area. Yeah, because there's no, I guess, encouragement from it. Yeah.